Welcome to the Traveling Family, episode number 7. I'm Keith.
And I'm Amanda.
And today is going to be all about the Magic Kingdom.
Yes, we are the Traveling Family.
We
By
are.
the way, if this is your first episode, as Keith mentioned, we're 7 in and we're in the midst of a Disney breakdown. So the last 4 episodes, including this one, have been Disney centric, breaking down our experiences recently at each of the 4 Disney World parks. So jumping into what's your favorite?
Magic Kingdom. So Magic Kingdom is getting ready to celebrate their 50th anniversary this year on October the 1st. So for those of you that can do the quick math, opened up October 1st, 1971.
Good job.
But it was the first of the 4 Disney World parks, what was called affectionately as the Florida Project when Walt originally started it. And it is mirrored after Disneyland out in California. There's quite...
This one has the better castle. I'm just going to come out and say it.
Yeah. So
Cinderella's castle is at Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World.
Which you have Sleeping Beauty's castle at Disneyland. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people go through Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. In fact, I was Googling some just quick facts on it, and we're not going to get into a lot of facts. We're mostly going to be talking about our experience here in the last few times we've gone, but Magic Kingdom is the #1 most attended theme park. I think it's like the last 13 years in the world and the last 19 years in the United States, the #1 attended annually theme park, which isn't that shocking, but it is
still impressive.
Yeah, it is. That is why if you're not a crowd person, I will share with you how to avoid the crowds the best you can.
Yeah.
But it's still tricky.
So before we jump into our experiences at Magic Kingdom is broken down into 6 different lands throughout. Main entrance as you walk in, it's Main Street USA, which is tailored after more of a Midwestern type turn of the century type town. And then you've got Adventureland, Frontierland, Liberty Square, Fantasyland, and Tomorrowland.
Did you really need to look at the notes for that?
No.
I didn't think so.
But each of the lands kind of have their own unique theming, and the rides kind of go along with them.
And the
food. But we'll kind of get into our own personal experiences here.
Yeah, and we'll share as we're talking through our experiences, we'll share which of the lands these different items are in. So as you know, if you've listened to the other ones, our 2019 trip was in conjunction with Run Disney. Mm-hmm. We were there with my parents, so it was a multi-generational trip, my parents and our daughter. And our daughter was almost 3 at the time. So she was 2 years old and potty training at the time that we were at Magic Kingdom this go around. And our first little taste of it, and this was really, really neat. As a mother, someone who grew up, I had been to Disney World, I think twice. The Magic Kingdom, I think I'd been to twice with my family growing up, maybe 3 times. And walking into the Magic Kingdom before the park was open, and the Christmas decorations were still on it because this is January of 19. They had not taken down the really fancy lights on the castle, and it was still dusk, so we could still see the lights lit up. Walking in and seeing my daughter's face and how excited my dad was, like, that was so neat to see. I'll never forget that moment. And the reason we were walking in at this time was because you were taking part in the half marathon. So you were getting ready to run into the Magic Kingdom.
I think I probably was already in the Magic Kingdom by the time you guys arrived. But yes, cool part about Run Disney and at least the half marathon is you get to run through Magic Kingdom and parts of Epcot. As we discussed in the Epcot version, it wasn't too much time in Epcot, much more so in the Magic Kingdom. And you come running in and it's so early in the morning, and as Amanda said, the Christmas lights are on. It's just a really cool experience to be able to do that. And then as you go around all the different lands, you run through the castle and kind of make your way through the whole park. It's pretty cool because there really wasn't anybody there outside of some spectators, and got to see as I come running out of the castle, I'm running past after I'd taken a picture in front of the castle, and I hear my name being called, and there's my family, and it was really cool to see my daughter and everybody enjoying.
If I can find the video, I'll put it in for those of you that are watching on YouTube. And actually, you might be able to hear us yelling for those listening on the podcast. Maybe in editing, I can get that in there. Run Disney just made an exciting announcement too. Did you see that today?
I've been working today.
Well, since this is my work,
Yeah.
They are coming back in person. No shocker. So we'll have to talk about the next Run Disney. That's when we're going to be at. So that was 2019. And that was our first little glimpse. We had to leave the park then because you were going to go finish your race.
Mhm.
And we wanted to be there at the end of your race. And so we left Magic Kingdom and went and did we just have a resort day that day then and vegged out? Yeah, I think so, because we transitioned resorts. This was the time, this trip, we did 2 different resorts. So we did that little blurb in the morning, and then we did another little evening, like a little dusk stint in the Magic Kingdom, because we were park hopping this year, the year 2019, and we went from Epcot back to the resort to get changed, and we had Epcot reservations for dinner, but we had enough time and we decided to head over to Magic Kingdom via bus, and then we were going to just jump on the monorail and take the monorail over to Epcot. So it worked out really, really awesome. But it was the 3 of us and our daughter, went over for like an hour, and we got to take our daughter on Dumbo, which was really fun. She enjoyed it. And then we took her on her first roller coaster, which again, she was 2. We took her on the Barnstormer and she loved it. I will also try to put the video in here, but it might not make sense for those of you listening on the podcast. It is the cutest video though.
And then we ended up hopping on the monorail.
Oh no, you're not skipping over this. For those of you who've been listening the last 3 episodes, you know that there's been this debate about a balloon fiasco.
Yes.
So before we jumped on the monorail, we had to exit the park. And in order to exit the park, we walked down Main Street USA. And on Main Street USA are balloons that you can buy.
And it was getting
for your child.
It was dusk. So the flashing balloons were a thing, and thought she wanted the blue one, but didn't realize we wanted the one that was flashing. So had to go back and exchange a balloon. Exchanged a balloon. This is what you'll do for your kids. And ended up though, she was really excited about the balloon. And yet though, this was also the time that we didn't realize these balloons could turn off.
Yeah, the balloons that he's talking about flash. And we were staying at a resort. By this point, we were at Port Orleans. So we were in one big room, and we turned off all the lights to go to bed that night. And this flashing blue balloon, we could not figure out how we were going to sleep. So we locked the balloon in the bathroom for the remainder of the trip.
Yeah, we didn't actually realize that you could turn it off until
you can turn the balloons off. Pro tip. Turn the balloons off that light up. There's a little switch right at the neck of the balloon, and you can turn off the flashes. So we learned that. I think we learned it either at the end of the trip or on the next trip.
It was like after the trip.
Yeah, well, it definitely wasn't on the trip because that balloon went to the bathroom every night and we shut the door.
Yeah. Then we're going to have a full day at Magic Kingdom to end our trip. That was our last park that we were going to go to for that trip. And we started off with a character breakfast. Oh, no, it wasn't a character breakfast.
We started off with reservations for Be Our Guest. And honestly, against all better judgment, we did this because we knew Be Our Guest would be a neat experience and something that we wanted to do. But all the research that I had done, Disney Food Blog, big shout out to Disney Food Blog, because I watched so many of those analyzing it, but other people too, other videos too, talked about how Be Our Guest is an awesome restaurant, but breakfast is definitely the least bang for your buck and all this different. And I could not agree more. I was not actually that impressed overall with Be Our Guest. This is going to be a very unpopular opinion. So if you're listening to this and you're planning your trip, do other research. I want to go back to be our guest because I feel like I missed something. And let me back up. We had a really amazing seat. We had a seat right next to the windows where the snow falls outside the castle in the main dining room. It was gorgeous, but it felt very cafeteria to me. Now, maybe that was because it was breakfast, or maybe that's really just because it's such a large restaurant, what it is. I'm not sure, but I would love to go back and give it a second try because quite honestly, between Be Our Guest and Cinderella's Royal Table, the two different castle meals that you can have, table service castle meals at Disney World, I would definitely choose Cinderella's Royal Table. And I think I'm in the minority in that sentiment, but that was just my experience. There's no complaining here. Be Our Guest, the food was fine. Again, it was just huge and it felt a little cafeteria-y.
Yeah, and at the same time too, like we really didn't go exploring. Again, we had a 2-year-old at this time, and she wasn't really up to going and exploring things. The one part of the
West Wing.
The West Wing is like the West Wing in the movie, and it's a little bit darker and some louder noises. Again, we've already described, and if you've listened to our other podcasts, we've described how well those work out for us on this trip.
Loud noises do not work.
No, not at all. So, but at the end of the day, good experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't over the top though. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe.
It wasn't one of the most magical experiences that I've had in Walt Disney World. But that being said, other people have had incredibly magical experiences here. So again, do your research, gather your tidbits, talk to people that have been to Disney, get their insights on it. But at the end of the day, think about your family, your likes, and kind of what style you enjoy. And you'll be able to figure it out from there. And I would go back. So all of this to be said, I would go back. I would just really like to try dinner, I think, at the Beast Castle as opposed to
and then
breakfast.
Dinner is a character meet and greet with the Beast, right?
Yeah, currently it is.
Yeah. Well,
and I actually think the Beast is there for all the meals right now.
Okay.
I'm fairly certain on this one. But typically only at dinner could you meet the Beast, and I think very rarely Belle. But this was pre-pandemic. Post-pandemic, we'll see how it all shakes out. Currently in the midst or toward the end, this is being filmed in the very end of June, whatever J month we're in, June of 2021.
It's January. It's
95,000 degrees out.
Boy, the weather's really different than what we're used to.
Yeah. So I would say do it again.
For sure.
That's my experience with Be Our Guest restaurant.
And so last episode, I think on Epcot, we did touch on something about fast passes.
Yes.
And when fast passes were a thing, as of right now, fast passes are not back in the parks currently, but on this trip we did have fast passes, and we talked about how we use fast passes for character meet and greets.
Yeah.
Because that's what our 2-year-old daughter wanted to do more than anything else. And instead of waiting in a half hour, 45-minute long line, we use fast passes on character meet and greets.
Yeah, I mean, because again, we were there with my parents and a 2-year-old. So no one was trying to ride Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. We were there in January and it was pretty chilly. So nobody was trying to ride Splash Mountain.
Yeah, I don't even know that we even got back to Frontier.
I don't think we even went in Frontierland on this trip.
I think we stayed exclusively on this trip in Main Street USA, Fantasyland, and Tomorrowland. We didn't touch.
Yeah, we didn't even go over to the left side.
We did walk through very briefly. We touched on Liberty Square, I think, very, very briefly. But other than that, we did not get to any other of the locations within Magic Kingdom. And again, this goes back to what we've talked about. We were fine with that.
Yes.
Like we had certain things that we wanted to do with our daughter and my in-laws, and we were perfectly fine not going back and exploring.
Yep, absolutely. So after the meet and greet with the princess, or after breakfast, we did meet and greet with the princesses. We had the fast pass and we got to meet. Actually,
wait, no, we didn't. I forgot about this.
Oh, Lord.
Actually, we went to story time with Belle.
Oh, how could I have forgotten about this? Remember about loud noises,
dark
rooms.
Yeah. Thought this would be one of the best things. Again, our daughter really into Belle at this time. She was
dressed up as Belle.
Yeah.
We went to the Beast Castle for breakfast. She was dressed up as Belle. And then we had a fast pass for story time with Belle. How could it get any better than this, you ask?
So we go in, and I can't even tell you about the rest of the experience of story time with Belle outside of they like open the book and Lumiere comes out and talks, because as soon as like the lights dimmed and that happened, she started melting down.
Well,
like
because
no
Lumiere
other.
started to tell the story of the beast.
Yeah.
And our daughter knew the story of the beast. So she freaked out because I think she thought the beast was about to bust into the room, just like she thought, Mickey and the Roadster Racers were going to drive into the room.
Yeah.
She heard the noises and she was like, I'm out. And she is screaming. So we had to escort our 2-year-old out of story time with Belle.
Yes.
So again, just be aware that these things may happen, and you laugh about it and you roll with it and you move on to the Princess Fairy Tale Hall, where you go, how in the world could this possibly be scary? And good news, it's not.
It's not. No, not at all. And so she got to meet
Rapunzel
and
Elena were the first two.
Yes. But by this time we had to do a dress change, because of course, if you listen to our Epcot podcast, we had bought the Rapunzel dress.
Yep.
So out of the Belle costume we went and into the Rapunzel costume, so we could meet Rapunzel and Elena.
Yep. And she loved it. She thought meeting the princesses was amazing. We did it, I think, 3 times in total that day. I mean, I know we went back multiple times. We got to meet Tiana and Cinderella as well.
Yep.
And they were all right there in the Fantasyland area. There's a place called, I'm totally blanking on the name.
You had just said it. It's like Princess Storytime, or no, not Storytime, but
Princess Fairy Tale Hall.
Yes.
So this is again kind of behind the castle back in there. This is Fantasyland, and this is where all the princesses have been in the past. So she was so excited to spend time there. We got off that. We went on the carousel. And fun fact, for those of you that know me well, know why I know this, but the carousel is from Detroit.
Yep.
It was moved down there from Detroit. So I think that's a really fun thing.
And refurbished. So that's Prince Charming's Regal Carousel. Sorry, I had to look at that one.
You know so much trivia. I can't believe you didn't know the name of the carousel in the Magic Kingdom.
But and then we had to go on the teacups, which our daughter loved.
No, you missed Small World.
I think Small World was at the end.
No, it definitely wasn't. Because prepping for this episode, I went through all of my photos in order. Once again, how can you question me at this point? I was right on the balloon fiasco. So we went and rode It's a Small World, which that is one of my favorite rides in Walt Disney World. In fact.
And I think it's one of your dad's favorites.
I think so too. So it was really fun to go on Small World. Keith got me this. For those of you watching on YouTube, you'll see. And it's from an Etsy shop. So I'll try to link the Etsy shop below. I can't remember. I have the card saved right here, but I can't remember the name of it, but I will link it in this episode. It's like a wooden, has a little stand that it sits on, but I love my little Small World. In fact, I'll finish the episode with it behind us.
So rode Small World, which it's an iconic.
It's a small world.
Iconic Disney ride. But so we go there. We did the teacups as well. We also got to meet Pooh and the Tigger from the 100 Acre Woods, which is my favorite. I love Winnie the Pooh and I love Tigger too. But
I married you.
Yeah, she did. But we did not do the Winnie the Pooh ride because it's a dark ride, and we've already established how well we were doing with anything dark on this trip.
Right.
And then, as Amanda said, we went back and we met Cinderella. We met Tiana.
And then we found out that Tinkerbell for a limited time was going to be up at, I think it's Tony's.
No, it was at the
it was all the way at the front of the park. Isn't that Tony's restaurant at the front of the park?
It wasn't a restaurant.
Right by it.
It was the courthouse, like the courthouse or the main, I can't remember. City Hall. That's what it was. Yeah, City Hall building.
Okay.
Because that's where they also sometimes will have Mickey meet and greet.
Okay. So it was at the front of the park. We had to, all I remember is we walked back toward the front of the park, down Main Street, turned left, and it was back in there.
Yeah. And at this time, our daughter is not doing well as far as she's tired.
Yep. Because we're approaching nap time, which she was still taking naps at this point.
and this was the last day of the trip, and we have been going. So
Yep.
she was kind of in meltdown mode.
Yes.
Not having the fact that we were standing in line to meet Tinkerbell, even though she was really excited and wanted to meet Tinkerbell.
But then she kept saying she was afraid, and it was a whole thing. And I think we have a picture of her with a pacifier. So she was just giving up the pacifier on this trip. But I think we have a picture of her with a pacifier in her mouth. And I was trying to get her to take it out right before the picture. I can't remember if I was successful or not. And in hindsight, I'm thinking, why was I trying? Like, what? If she was happy with the pacifier in her mouth, she could have left it in her mouth for the picture. It didn't matter. Then
she was happy once we met Tink.
Yeah, she was in a great mood again. It kind of flipped for a little bit. And then by this point, we knew we wanted to watch the 3:00 parade, 3:00. And we had reservations because she was too young to do Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, which we really wanted her to do.
Yes.
But she was too young. She wasn't 3 yet, and you had to be 3. She was 2 months away or something like that from being 3. So we made a reservation at the Harmony Barbershop because they will do kids' first haircuts and things like that. So they were still able to do her hair, give her a cute little pigtail do, and sprinkle some magical sparkles, pixie dust in her hair. So that was pretty cool. She was kind of having it. She wasn't fighting it, but she wasn't super into it. Again, she was so tired. So we just stepped straight out from the Harmony Barbershop and watched the parade. So we stepped out from the barbershop, and that's where the parade route was coming through. And so she had her little pixie dust in her hair. And I think you had to bribe her with a bracelet.
Oh, no. So as a parade's coming up, and we were right where the parade exits the park. Like, we're at the tail end of the thing. So the music's coming up, and she starts to get nervous and scared. And
again, a loud noise, even though we were outside in the middle of the day.
So most of the parade has not, actually none of the parade had gotten to us at this time.
It was just loud.
It was just loud. So I take her into
the
Emporium, and yes, I ended up buying her a bracelet, as well as I think probably some candy or something else. I remember the bracelet was a multicolored,
which she actually has on her pile right now. We're getting ready to head to Disney, and I've got all of her clothes piled up, and she has that bracelet picked out to wear with an outfit.
Yeah. So, but that was, I said, all right, you got to be a big girl and go watch the parade, and you can have this stuff. And so she said, okay. And we ended up watching the parade.
And she really enjoyed it. She loved the parade.
Yep. And then it was back to meet the princesses last time.
Yes, we had to go back and meet them.
And by this time, I think everybody was just kind of done and over the day. And it was getting to be about 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it was close to 5 because we decided, you know what, let's just take off. We'll see fireworks another year when she's older.
Because she wasn't scared. She was scared of fireworks anyways at that time too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, when she was younger, like she had very recently become scared of loud noises. When she was younger, she saw her first fireworks at 6 months, and she was enamored with them. She thought they were you can peel her eyes away from fireworks until a little after 2.
Yeah.
So for about the first year and a half of her life, she seemed to like fireworks. We had gone to a lot of baseball games and such. So she had watched them probably 3 or 4 times in her life. She wanted no part of it. So we weren't going to force it. There was no point. So we took her back to the hotel. But on our way out, we were leaving, and the flag ceremony, which we didn't realize was a thing in Walt Disney World, the flag ceremony was taking place. And this is really neat. If you ever have the opportunity to be up at the front of Magic Kingdom at 5 o'clock or right there around, it is so special to watch the flag ceremony. The only flag in Magic Kingdom that is a proper American flag is the flag on the flagpole. Everything else is missing a stripe or a star or something like that. So the flag comes down every evening, and they usually pick a veteran or a serviceman or woman from the crowd to be a part of the flag ceremony. And it's really neat. I've got a video, and I'll put it in here for those of you that are watching on YouTube. Yep. And you'll listen to it for those that are listening on the podcast. From the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean, I will come. neat. It was kind of a special, unexpected perk. So we left, and that was the end of our 2019 trip, basically.
Yeah.
We headed out the next day. So now jumping ahead to 2020, as a reminder, if you haven't been listening to the other videos, we were there the week between Thanksgiving and Christmas in 2020. So we were there on Thanksgiving and then bled over into the week between. The week between Thanksgiving and December.
Yeah,
So,
we weren't there for a month.
For the week. 1 week. So we went down, and this, mind you, is in the very midst of the pandemic. So this is November of 2020, when there's quite a spike. I mean, I remember holding my breath going into this trip, thinking, because this trip was rescheduled 3 times. It was April, then it was September, and then finally we were able to go in November. So I should say it was rescheduled twice. But we go on this trip, and this time we did not save Magic Kingdom till the last day.
No.
So we were there a little bit earlier in the week. And I just remember walking into Magic Kingdom and appreciating so much all the Christmas decorations that were up in the park. It was very neat to see. If you have the opportunity to go when Disney's decorated for either Halloween, if you're really into Halloween, they do a big thing with Halloween. Christmas is really special there. I'm excited to see what the 4th of July is like.
Yeah, it'll be
crowds.
But yeah, so really, really cool opportunity to go and see the parks decked out with all the holiday decorations and everything else. But we were able to actually get into the park early.
Yeah, we were on our way to the park before 8 a.m. And when we got there, we were able to go right in.
Yeah.
We walked down Main Street, snagged a photo op, and headed over to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Because this time we have a little one who's 4.5, who loves rides and was tall enough to ride Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And we thought, why not? She likes the movie. We thought Seven Dwarfs probably isn't as scary as some of the other rides. And so we ventured over, and she enjoyed it. She had a good time. We all enjoyed it.
No, we loved it. And then we decided that we wanted to go do Splash Mountain. But as we made our way back to Frontierland, so now Seven Dwarfs is in Fantasyland. We had to make our way up and around to Frontierland to go to Splash Mountain. But Splash Mountain was not up and running when we first got back into Frontierland. So we actually were able to go do Big Thunder Mountain first. Rode that, kind of basically a walk on almost.
Yeah, I think it was like 20 minutes maybe.
But by that time, lines were starting to form for Splash Mountain. Park was getting ready to officially open. So we hopped in line. I think we waited about 35 minutes.
Yeah, it was definitely the longest wait of the day. I'm pretty certain.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, and I think it was between 35 and 45 minutes. I don't think we waited quite an hour, but when you count the fact that we waited in line for probably 10 or 15 minutes before the ride even opened.
Yeah, that's true.
So the line wasn't moving for the first, 10, 15 minutes that we were standing in it, but we wanted to wait there because I think I had been on Splash at least one other time, but I couldn't really remember it very well. And because they're going to do the retheming of Splash, I really wanted to ride it one last time before they shut it down to retheme it as Tiana, which I think will be beautiful. I am excited about this retheming, but it's neat to be able to at least kind of see the old way. And it still currently is Splash Mountain.
Yeah, and I had never ridden Splash that I can remember.
Yeah.
So it was fun to be able to ride that.
Yeah. And again, our daughter liked it. So she's 4 and she enjoyed it. So that was great. Although here's another pro tip for you. If you're going to wear a white shirt to Disney World, first of all, why? Because it rains every day in Disney. Second of all, don't ride a water ride without a poncho and a white shirt. I went into the ladies' restroom and used the hand dryer for a little while because this genius wore a white t-shirt. Pro tip, don't wear white.
So once we got off Splash, we made our way into Adventureland because we wanted to do the Jungle Cruise, which was themed as the Jingle Cruise for the holidays.
Yep. And I decided before we got in line for that, which this might have been a mistake because now come to find out, Jungle Cruise is one of the longest lines consistently throughout the day. So if Jungle Cruise is something that you really want to do, and there's a line that's, 40 minutes or shorter, get in line and do it. because I'm pretty certain right now, consistently that line is an hour or over. And again, there's not fast passes going on at the moment.
Yeah.
So I said, well, before we get in line for that, let's go do the tiki room, because the enchanted tiki room is something I don't think I had ever done, but it's again one of the first original.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to see it. And we sat through the tiki room, which was good, but probably not worth waiting extra long in line for Jungle Cruise. So if that's something I had to do over again, I would have gone to Jungle Cruise first and tiki room second, yada, yada, yada. But this is all in what Keith had mentioned, Adventureland area.
Yeah.
And if you want a Dole Whip, this is where you get it. Aloha Isle is in also Adventureland. So you got the Jungle Cruise, the
Pirates of the Caribbean, the Tiki Room, the Magic Carpets of Aladdin, which there you can throw your thoughts in on that one. As I know,
actually, our daughter just told me today that's on her must-do list when we go.
Which is, yeah. Anyways, it's a copy of Dumbo and everything else, but
for your Aladdin fans,
yeah,
I want to ride a magic carpet.
Okay.
We ride Jungle Cruise, which is good. I don't quite understand the obsession with Jungle Cruise, but this is maybe like Beast Castle. Like I need to go back and do it again. And now when we go back and do it again, it's going to be different theming, because after we left, shortly after they shut it down and started, I shouldn't say shut it down. They've been re-theming Jungle Cruise and updating it a little bit. So it'd be cool to see. I'm excited to go back on it. I just don't want to wait an hour in line for it.
It's punny.
Punny. He said punny, for those of you that didn't catch that.
So by that time we weren't going to do Pirates, although I think Amanda and I would love to do Pirates at some point in time. Right now it's just not up our daughter's alley.
She's seen the movies, so she might be able to handle it, but we'll see. Yeah.
And we didn't really have any more rides that were kind of on our must do for that day, which was great, because we were done basically
11:30.
Yeah, it was like lunchtime, because we went to into Liberty Square and to Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
To get lunch.
Yes, and I got the chicken waffle sandwich.
Yeah.
Delicious.
So it was great. But while we were eating lunch, we hear the music go up in the park, and that was announcing that there was a character cavalcade coming.
So there's another little tip for you. If you are headed to Disney anytime soon, they don't currently have official parades running at official times. They have they're basically miniature parades called cavalcades that go through the park with different characters at different times. And they go over and over and over again. Trust me, you will catch them if you are in the park. And how you'll know they're near you, the music near you changes and gets louder. So you'll know that something's happening, changing, or coming. So that's exactly what happened. We were sitting there at lunch and we heard the music change. And I don't think we had seen a cavalcade yet in the Magic Kingdom because of where we had been. And so we hear this. And if you are familiar with the parade route, Sleepy Hollow is right there on the parade route. So we were able to step on over and watch our first cavalcade of the day, which was so fun to watch.
Yeah, it was great. And so with that, then we started making our way down Main Street. And we're like, oh, we'll just kind of hang out on Main Street, go into some of the shops and just kind of hang, because really now our main thing that we wanted to do was see all of the cavalcades come through.
Yep.
And so we're like, okay, great. We'll just go walk around and kind of explore. And then as cavalcades come through, we'll pop out of the shops and see it. And it was perfect, because the next one that came through was the princesses.
Yes.
Which was a lot of fun. And they, again, crowds were pretty low.
Yeah,
especially,
they were very light, considering we were there over a holiday time frame.
And for all of these cavalcades, our daughter was really able to get like right up in front, right off the street, and had some personal interactions with the characters in these cavalcades, which she just loved. This was not quite a year ago, but she's so excited to go back and just see the characters again. She loves the characters. Yep. So, and what was great, again, this was holiday time. So they had some holiday cavalcades. Most of the cavalcades were themed holiday. Yes. I think the Princess Cavalcade was the least holiday themed of any of them, but they were majority themed very much
around the Christmas winter holiday season, which was cool. It was really neat to see.
Yeah. And then you had the Santa cavalcade that came through. So Santa made an appearance.
Yeah, this one was very magical too, because our daughter, who has a very unique name, Santa knew exactly who she was and wished her a happy birthday by name on Main Street in the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
I think this is by far and away the most magical moment that I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
Probably will ever
experience. It was really, really cool experience to have that happen. And the whole reason we were there, it actually wasn't her birthday at that time, but we were celebrating it because, again, as Amanda had said, this has been rescheduled.
Originally, we were supposed to go for her birthday.
So, which was still just phenomenal experience. And
yeah, that's one thing too. There's another little tip for you. If you're going to be there like in the month of someone's birthday, or even in this case, she was 4.5 by the time we actually got to go. And we still were able to celebrate the birthday, and she was able to wear the birthday button. And, they would ask, when was your birthday? And she would tell them, and it was months earlier. And, we would explain we were supposed to be here, but Disney does not care at all. So for those of you watching on YouTube, we have a special guest who has joined us. And she brought this in, and she wanted us to show, these are her autographs that she got on her 2019 Disney trip. Oh, I skipped some pages. My apologies. So as we mentioned, we did various character meals while we were there. And I will get to the princesses here. We got to meet Pluto at Chef Mickey's. This was Tusker House. So for those of you that watch the Animal Kingdom
or listen,
yes, you got to see Tusker House. This was in Hollywood Studios, in the Disney Junior area. Got to meet Vampirina there and Doc. And then we got autographs from Belle. Again, she was the host at Akershus House in Epcot. We talked about it in the Epcot episode. And here is Cinderella and Aurora. These were all from the Epcot breakfast. Bye. Ariel, Snow White. That was the woman Keith was talking about in the Epcot, who was wonderful in answering all her questions. She got to meet Elsa. And then this was in the Princess Fairy Tale Hall. So this is her just in shock, I think.
Yep.
That she got to meet Rapunzel in her Rapunzel dress, and she got to meet Tiana.
And see, I think we had that wrong. It was actually Rapunzel and Tiana, not Cinderella and Tiana. Cinderella and Elena were the ones that were together.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. So then there was Keith mentioned earlier in the episode, Tigger and Winnie the Pooh. Here was the Tinkerbell, and there you go.
We do have the pacifier.
The pacifier is in her mouth. So again, my apologies for those of you that are listening. We've got all these pictures showing in the YouTube version of this podcast, but that was the autograph book. So here's another tip. If autographs are happening when you will go to your Disney trip and you have a younger kid, it is so fun for them to have one of these books and go get the autographs. And I strongly recommend getting one of the books that has the photo slot, because we now have this little album and she can look back, and I took a picture every time she had one of them signing her book. So she's got a picture in her book of her with the characters when they're signing it. And that's special.
Yeah, very special. And also
special so much that she heard us talking about it and ran in the room to give it to us.
And also too, a tip is like that book we had actually purchased ahead of the trip
on sale on Disney Shop Disney.
Yeah. And then gave it to her while we were there.
Yes.
So that's another little tip, is you can actually go out and buy souvenirs. You don't want to buy all of them because you're going to want to get something from the parks.
Yeah, but you can save money.
You can save some money that way.
Looking out for sales.
And have Mickey bring them to the room. So
yeah, it's really cool.
But then we went through after the Santa cavalcade and everything. We went through the confectionery and got some treats
up and down Main Street,
and then got to see the toy soldiers. And so I think my in-laws joke about this all the time, but I am a huge Disney Christmas parade fan on Christmas Day. That is one of the traditions that I want to do.
Yes, every morning on Christmas morning, Keith wants to turn on the TV to watch the Christmas parade from Disney.
Yep. So I've always seen the toy soldiers and Santa and everything else, and we actually got to see them. So that was a really cool moment for me, and our daughter loved it as well, which is obviously makes it even that much more special. But so that was really cool.
I'm trying to think. I mean, again, we wandered for a long time on Main Street. We caught like 3 different cavalcades because we saw the princess one, we saw the Santa cavalcade.
I think we saw the princess one twice.
I think so too. We saw the toy soldiers, and then we saw Goofy's cavalcade where Max was there and Maribel was there. So we got to see quite a few, and then we went back up the other side of Main Street. So we went in through the Emporium and walked up the shops. And you and our daughter did some pin action there. They weren't pin trading because we were in the middle of the pandemic. Very few places in Disney were at this time, but you guys bought a few more pins. You picked out a couple things. She likes to buy the surprise boxes, the pins that, you don't know which one you're going to get or which 2 you're going to get. So she picked out a couple of those, and she actually stole one. Do you remember this?
Oh.
So we were in the Emporium and we heard the music turn up, and by this point we know what it means when the music turns up. So Keith and my daughter are looking at the big pin wall, with hundreds of pins on them, and they were both picking pins out. So Keith handed me the pins that they had picked out. Well, and then the 2 of them, Keith and our daughter, ran out the door to watch the cavalcade go by, and unbeknownst to both of us, she ran out the door with a pin in her hand, and we did not realize this. Neither of us realized it. And then when she came back in, I realized she was holding a pin. I was like, oh my gosh, you just stole a pin, technically. Of course, we purchased it and, before we left. But I thought that was kind of cute and funny and totally innocent. And yeah, I'm just glad we didn't actually steal a pin.
Yes, exactly. We went back to Fantasyland because we were spending all day at the park. Like we went through Sir Mickey's. They were actually doing some pin trading there.
Yep. So both of you got to do a little pin trading. And then she was getting antsy, so I walked out the door. Right there is the fairy tale hall, but they weren't doing, again, the character meet and greets.
Inside it.
However, Ariel was just hanging out right there, and she got to chit chat with Ariel for a while, and they talked about swimming in the sea and twirling and curtsying and all the things. So that was really kind of fun, unexpected, because we were only expecting to see characters really in the cavalcades on this trip, and at the breakfasts or the character meals, but we got to meet Ariel, so that was kind of neat.
And this was all kind of leading up to our dinner reservations for that evening, which was at Cinderella's Royal Table.
Yep. So this was our first time at Cinderella's Royal Table. So again, that's why we were kind of sticking near Fantasyland. We didn't want to tire everybody out, knowing that we were staying until our 4:30 dinner reservation there. So we went and rode Ariel's Under the Sea ride, and then I think we rode the Teacups and Dumbo before we went back to the reservation.
Yeah, I may have jumped.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
But
so anyway, so we spent more time in Fantasyland and did some more rides, but then we went up and had dinner at Cinderella's Royal Table, which, as I mentioned, this was a fantastic experience for us. And this being said, they seated us probably 20 or 30 minutes late for our reservation. And I'm not sure why. We never really got an explanation on it, but they definitely made up for it by the table they put us at, because they kept telling us that it was the best table in the house. And then we got up, and if you're familiar with it, you kind of go up an elevator or a set of stairs. We get up the elevator and we get off the elevator, and boom, right there is our table. And if you've ever been in Cinderella's Royal Table, it's actually a very pretty room, and it's not a huge room, which I think, again, is another reason why I prefer this to date over the Beast's Castle, because the Beast's Castle is huge and this is more small, a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate, in my opinion. It's definitely not, a hole in the wall, so to speak, small atmosphere, but
No,
it is smaller than the Beast Castle.
it
So
feels smaller. I don't know that it's a pretty large room still, but it definitely feels more intimate.
So we get seated right here, and I thought, how is this the best table? Because we are sitting right by the elevator where everybody is getting off and on. And it turns out that because of the pandemic, this is typically a princess meal where you meet like 5 of the princesses. But because of the pandemic, the only princess you're meeting is Cinderella. And because of the pandemic, she is unable to actually physically walk around to each of the tables. She just kind of comes out on the balcony and waves to everybody and says hello. Well, guess where that balcony is that she stands? Right next to our table. So it was very special. Our daughter got to be very close with Cinderella. And again, another just magical experience at Disney. And, you're not guaranteed these. You're not always going to get them. You will melt down. People will get tired and frustrated. But there are also these experiences, and to see Disney through your kids' eyes is just hard to describe.
Yep. So dinner was really good. We had a choice of menu and everything else. This is a restaurant you can get alcohol in if you so choose.
Yep.
But yeah, food was really good. She got to build her own dessert, like a little cupcake making.
Our daughter, not me.
Yes, our daughter got to make her own dessert up with a cupcake and put sprinkles and the frosting and everything on. So that was kind of a cool little treat.
And I thought it was cute too. She had an appetizer course or a starter course, and she chose grapes and cheese. And it was the funniest little, it's just cubes of cheese and grapes in a bowl, but it was darling. And it's so geared toward kids again. But my meal was still very good. I think I can't remember. Steak and mashed potatoes and asparagus and wine. It was great.
Yep.
So then we left. We went and rode Small World after that.
We did, yeah.
And I think after that, we decided it was time to head out. And the reason we were kind of, again, waiting a little bit longer was because she wanted to see fireworks. At this point, she was asking to see fireworks, but they were not running. However, they were doing the castle projections. They had made a big deal about how they were going to do the holiday castle projections, and they were doing very small fireworks, like just while the castle projections changed. So we sat on Main Street and just slowly made our way. It probably took us about 35 to 45 minutes, because I think they changed every 15 minutes.
They were.
To work our way down Main Street, because we wanted to see all 4 of the different.
And at the same time, though, before we did that, we actually hopped on the carousel too at night, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was neat.
She ended up falling asleep in her stroller.
Yes.
And so that allowed us to pop back into the Emporium and do a couple quick purchases.
Yep.
And then we headed out for the night.
Yeah. So that was our 2020 trip. So now we're getting ready to do 2021. If you guys have anything that are your must-dos when you're in Disney, definitely comment. And if you comment before we head out next week, we will try to do as many of them, because there's still a lot that we haven't experienced yet in the park, and we're looking forward to tackling some of those. Tom Sawyer Island, I know I would like to do. Believe it or not, the People Mover is something that I haven't done before, I don't think, and I would love to do the People Mover. So the People Mover is one of the things that's on my must-do list. I don't think I've ridden the People Mover before. Have you?
I have not.
Okay, so I'm very excited. And our daughter is super into Miles and the Tomorrowland.
Miles from Tomorrowland.
Miles Tomorrowland. So we're very excited to spend some time in Tomorrowland on the Transit Authority, because she will love that, I think.
And we want to do the Tomorrowland Speedway.
I want to have some Dole Whip.
Yep, for sure. And we're going to actually get to go and do Skipper's Canteen.
Yeah.
Which is the restaurant themed after the Jungle Cruise.
In Adventureland.
Yep. And also getting to see some of the 50th anniversary decor that's already up.
Yep. They're not officially starting it until October 1st, but the parks are getting ready. So some of the decor is up and we'll be able to see it.
Yep.
So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening today. Make sure that you guys are subscribed so that you catch all of our content. In 2 weeks, we'll be doing when we return, I should say, depending on when you're listening to this, we'll be doing our recap of the 2021 trip. Yep. And we'll share all that info with you guys. But as I mentioned, comment below, make sure you're subscribed. You can follow us on all social media platforms at Magically Simple Travel. You can follow me travel with _ Amanda on Instagram, and you'll see a lot more behind the scenes. So it's travel with _ Amanda. Follow me on Instagram. And again, thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting. We're so appreciative of your support and your listen. If you liked this, give it a like, share it with your friends, and let us know what you want to see in future episodes. We've got 5 more domestic destinations coming up. That'll be posted on the 4th of July. And as I mentioned, then after that, we'll be doing the synopsis of our Disney trip in 2021. But we'd love to hear what you guys want to know more about too.
Yep. Thank you all. And remember, if you need any help with your travel, this one right here, pointing to Amanda, can help you out and make your trip magically simple.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.